If you're a highly productive person, but you are wasting time on unproductive pursuits, this episode is for you. We're going to talk about how to maximize time and make sure that your unproductive pursuits are transformed back into your productive pursuits. So keep watching. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Jasper. Today we're talking about maximizing time, how to avoid wasting time on unproductive pursuits. Now, this is important because if you're a productive person, chances are you can be using your productivity for unproductive things. So we have three things. They're going to be quick today, and I'm going to run them down really quick as I usually do. Number one, you have to identify what's meaningful to you. Number two, live by your calendar during your working hours. And number three, learn to say no. So when it comes to being unproductive or anything, I see it as like pursuing stuff, right? And if you're watching this podcast, there's probably an element of you who you work really hard. You have some things that you are passionate about that you're doing. You are achieving high in some area of your life. The other thing is you probably have access to YouTube, social media, all that stuff. What I've personally seen a lot of content is if you're high achieving, especially as a male, then you are put into this lane in this box. And the lane is then I'm going to show content that is, here's how to make X amount of more money so I can get X amount of more women or women of whatever caliber so that I can drive XYZ car so that I can then act as if those things make me a man, right? Like, and those things, you know, it's so interesting because those aren't, those aren't like the makings of a man. And then the other thing is, I see those as just unproductive. They're not fulfilling. They're not productive. It's stuff. It's stuff that boosts an ego. And if you have to boost an ego, then that means your ego's fragile, you know, as it is. And so my whole message with this and what we're going to get into is you're already a productive person. Don't waste it on unproductive pursuits. And by the unproductive pursuits, I mean the things that are just to get you the things to make you feel better, you know, for whatever reason, right? So we're going to get right into it. 3 ways to make sure that you're maximizing your time on your productive pursuits, on the things that you want to do, and you're not worried about the stuff, the things that'll just burn, the things that just won't be there at the end of the day. Number one, identify what's meaningful to you. Now, for me personally, I have to structure my day so I can have time in the evening with my family, right? That's at this point probably the most meaningful thing for me, right? That and fitness. You know, those are meaningful because one, I have to have a level of fitness so I can have energy, be alive on this earth, you know, and then also so I can give energy to the things that matter to me. Now, anything in between, those are things that I can be passionate about as well. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm present for the people in this house. I want to make sure that I am giving my best to that. Those are my productive pursuits. Now, anything that pulls me away from that is unproductive, even if it's something that is a worthy cause. For example, when I first moved here, I was working late hours on projects. Now, that was a kind of quote unquote worthy cause, as in, okay, I'm going to get more kudos for working really, really hard. I'm going to, you know, potentially get a bonus, potentially get a raise and everything. But what it was doing was it was pulling me away from my family, from, you know, my fiance, from the pups, from, you know, my family here, and things that I actually really wanted to get to. So I found myself working and being angry and upset that I was doing the work because it would pull me away from my family. Now, where that flips, right? Right now, I am filming a podcast. I could be having some family time right now. Mason is a producer of this podcast, is the producer of this podcast. He has a wife and 2 kids at home. He comes here in the mornings and sometimes on Saturday mornings before his kids, you know, sporting events or family activities, and he spends time away from his family because these 2 things for us are worthy pursuits. They're productive pursuits in where we feel our God-given talents are, that we are okay taking some time away because it actually enriches the time that we have with our family. It's not an angsty thing where we're like, oh, this doesn't feel like I should be here. This is actually a very productive thing because it's like we're working on our gifts and talent. It makes us feel alive. It's a productive thing that we're doing. And we also get to make sure that we have time with our family. So your unproductive pursuit might be something that when you do it, you feel angst because you're like, I need to be doing something that's more productive over here. Understand what that feeling is and where that feeling is. For me also too, was like, I needed to spend more time doing the podcasting, doing podcast prep, working on speaking, working on getting speaking gigs, all this other type of stuff. And when I was doing anything else, even though it seemed productive, even though it might have been moving the financial needle forward, it's unproductive in the sense of an area that I want to be productive at. So I hope that you identify what is a productive pursuit to you, what's meaningful to you, and all of the things that you're putting time and effort into that is unproductive, even if it's giving you some gain in life, right? Do it for the time being if you need to do it, but understand that it might be a temporary thing that you need to move so that at some point in time you can do the productive things. Because that is a thing that I think that, and if I'm speaking just to men, that I've seen like internally kill men the most is sitting back and overworking on some things that they're just like, they're doing it just for a financial gain. And you see the stress, you see they age so quickly, you see, they're not happy, they're not fit, all of this stuff, but then they can sit and be like, well, I got this car, I got this crazy bonus, I got that. And you're not envious of it because I'm like, I'm looking at you and I'm like, I don't envy you. You're unhealthy. You don't seem happy. You have all these vices because you can't deal with your day to day, because at the end of the day, what you're being productive on is an unproductive pursuit. So identify what's meaningful to you. Number 2, live by your calendar during your working hours. So since the beginning of my career, my tech career after college in 2012, I've mostly been working remote, right? This is well before the pandemic, everything. I've mostly been working remote. So what I realized was in order to work remote efficiently, I had to make sure that I was so calendar focused, make sure that I was so task list focused, because it's very easy when you work remote. You don't have anybody around you to checks and balances on when you're doing work, when you're not doing work. Like you have to attend meetings, but if you don't have a high meeting day, it can almost feel like a day off if you don't have a lot of work, right? So for me, in order to be more productive, in order to maximize my time, I time box, right? Because I know that there are some things that I'm like, I just have to get done. Whether I like it or not, I just have to get it done. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to spend unnecessary time continuing to do the thing that I just have to get done that takes time away from the things that I want to get done, right? For example, I've said this in other podcasts. I really enjoy walking the dogs. We've said this in this podcast earlier. I really enjoy my time with my family after work. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to spend my entire workday lollygagging through a task that could have taken me 30 minutes and it's taken me 3 hours. Now it cuts into time that I find productive or that I, want to do, right? So maximize your time by really time boxing your day, by being very, very, I say this, almost obsessive about your calendar. Now, not everything is going to go as you think it should from time to time, but calendar, I see that as planning. You plan your day. You're able to plan and knock things out as you should. Also, I like being creative. I like smoking meats. I like doing other things that are outside of working hours. If you like doing things that are outside of working hours, why would you want things inside your working hours to seep outside of working hours if they don't have to, right? Like there's some times where I used to be, I used to do this. I would just kind of, not do work extremely hard and then, end up procrastinating. And then by the time I needed to actually finish the work, I'm like, dang, I really should be off the clock. I really should be doing other things. But I'm like, I got to finish this up because during my working hours, I was just kind of, sloughing it off and I wasn't actually focus on it, right? So make sure that you are living by your calendar so you give yourself more time to do other things. I'm telling you, the more structured your workday is, the more free time you have. It's like discipline. The more discipline you have, the more freedom from things you actually have. The more freedom you have to live. You're not reliant upon other things, right? That's why I discipline myself when it comes to fitness, because then I have freedom in the form of energy, and I have freedom in the form of, I feel comfortable in my clothes, right? That's why I discipline myself when it comes to this podcast and everything, because then I have freedom of mind to think, hey, I'm doing something that I love doing, and it's in my God-given gift and ability. So structuring your day actually provides you freedom, especially in the days and times that you need it and that you desperately want it. And number 3 and last, learn to say no. So if you classify yourself as a high achiever, you automatically can't say yes to everything. It's an impossibility, because if you say yes to everything, then what you do is you spread yourself so thin. And when you spread yourself so thin, you can't give 100% to everything. You might be able to give 20% to 5 things, but you can't give 100% to everything, right? So making sure that you are comfortable saying no. This is something that I still need to work on, right? I'm not comfortable saying no because I'm in areas that I care about, I'm like such a people pleaser. And when it comes to work, it's something where I'd say I'm almost overly a people pleaser, because I'm like, oh, I want to do really, really well, and I want to grow in my career and all this other type of stuff. But sometimes learning to say no to things that, one, are very much outside of my scope of what I even want to do, that's something that I have to work on and had to work on and have worked on it. And it's helped so much, because saying no is a freeing thing, because when you say no to something, you're automatically saying yes to something else. And the automatically saying yes might be just, now I have more free time to do what I want to do. The more that life happens and that responsibilities happen, the more automatic yeses will get thrown your way, right? Like when we have two dogs, right? I don't have kids yet, but we have two dogs. Like, you're saying yes to everything that comes with taking care of dogs. It just happens. When you're in a relationship, right? I have a fiance now. It's like, I'm saying yes to everything that comes within a committed relationship, whether I verbally acknowledge it or not. Like, I'm saying yes to it. There are things that are within your control that you can say no to. And by saying no to it, you're saying yes to so many other things. And my last rule for this saying no is at this point. And when I say at this point, because if you're watching this, I'm almost like classifying you as someone who is, in their later 20s to 30s, 40s, who has had some level of success, who's achieving or who wants to achieve, and who kind of somewhat knows what they want in life. If it doesn't set you on fire to do, if whatever the opportunity that presents itself doesn't set you on fire to do, you can say no. Because if it's not adding value to your life, don't just put it on your plate and knowing that you're going to give 100% to it, or trying to give 100% to it, but you don't really want to be there. There's nothing worse than giving so much energy and effort to something where you don't want to be, but you say yes to it out of some need to be liked, some need to fill a void for some ego thing, when in reality, you could be using that and maximize your time and being productive on so many other things. To cap it all up, number one, identify what's meaningful to you. Number two, live by your calendar on a daily basis. And number three, learn to say no. These things are important. These things are necessary. It's how you're going to maximize time on the things that are productive to you. And I say this, and I'm going to keep saying this. Some things that seem like a net positive, in your bank account and everything, those might be quote unquote unproductive. Now, it might be a thing that has to be there for the time being. And I'm not saying go quit a job or anything, but what I'm saying is there's other things that you might deem as more productive. Your family life, your dreams, your hopes, your things that you really want to accomplish, but that thing is taking you away from it. If you can structure your day so you can make sure that you knock out all of those things, I say do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. All the things that you have to do, but make sure you're maximizing your time doing the things that you want to do so that you can live out the vision that you have for your life, so that you can maximize who you are, so you can live to your potential, not the potential of your job title, not the potential of what somebody else said that you were supposed to be in, to your potential, to your life, to what you want to do. That is going to be the key. So I hope that you all enjoyed this message, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace. Thank you so much for watching this video. We have clips and content coming out every single week, full videos on Thursdays, and clips coming out almost every single day. You can subscribe to this channel if you like it. Also, please send it to somebody who you know needs this message or any message that you see, and we will see you in the next video.